Maybe you've been filming for a while, but we're looking for effective yet inexpensive ways to get your videos look more cinematic. I'll share with you my 7 proven tips that are guaranteed to elevate the perceived production value of your videos. Stay till the end and I'll even show you my simple color grading process to achieve that cinematic look. Let's roll! So what makes an image cinematic anyway? Cinematic means an image looks like something you'd see in a movie, and it's all about creating a mood or feeling that pulls you in. Let's start with locations. Choosing locations to create a cinematic look starts with understanding the story you're telling. It's about finding places that visually match the narrative's look and mood. Recently, we've produced a commercial for a brand specializing in kids' clothing made out of organic cotton. The brand asked us to create a magical experience for their viewers, but we needed to make sure that the look was totally natural and organic. So we found a nice vintage house with wooden flooring and nice organic looking furnishings on Airbnb. Looking for locations with a nice interior design in place can save you big on moving in your own furniture. Once we selected the location, there was still work to be done with set design, art direction and wardrobe to refine the look. Since this brand's products are all organic and made out of natural materials, we brought in a few small wooden bookshelves, books and wooden toys as props to complete the look. Our art director got all these items for about $200, which is a part of production budget. It's a relatively inexpensive investment that really adds to the vibe of the video and helps to drive the story forward. In my opinion, the effort was well worth it. Our wardrobe consisted of the actual products we were advertising, so we got a break here as well. The actress who played the mother brought the dress she wore with her because we made sure to discuss the wardrobe options with her in advance. When I started in commercial cinematography with smaller projects as a solo shooter, I often wondered why my shots didn't quite have the look I've seen in other ads. In my opinion, a well-selected location with a set design gets you 50% closer to that cinematic look. You gotta shoot somewhere, right? Make sure and spend the time on finding a fitting location for your next video production. Vintage lenses can impart a distinctive character to your footage that's hard to replicate with modern lenses, including softer focus, natural vignetting, unique bokeh, and subtle imperfections that add warmth and texture. The bokeh, the quality of the out-of-focus areas produced by many vintage lenses, is different from that of most modern lenses, often smoother or with more character, which can help to create a more cinematic depth. To use a vintage lens on a modern camera body, you'll need a lens mount adapter. These adapters vary depending on the type of lens mount, whether Canon FD, Nikon or something else, and your camera's mount. You can begin with widely known and easily adaptable lenses, such as those from Canon FD series or Zeiss lenses. These lenses are renowned for their build and image quality and a great starting point for experimentation. But I have a special beauty to show you today. This Tokina lens is made of aluminum alloy with an internal zoom barrel, with a 28 to 70mm focal range, an f2.8 aperture, and 77mm filter threads. This lens was designed by one of the best cinema lens manufacturers, Ingenue. This lens dropped in 1994 from Tokina, but prior to that, in the early 90s, Ingenue used to be a consumer brand for camera lenses. And right before they bowed out and went strictly to the higher tier of film cinematography lenses, they released their very last consumer lens, which just happened to be 28 to 70mm zoom that had a consistent f2.6 aperture. Some people believe that Tokina was actually in on the original design, while others just believe that Tokina simply bought the blueprints from Ingenue after they left the consumer market. Either way, not long after, Tokina released their own 28 to 70mm f2.6 lens. What you may notice is that Japanese versions of the first and second generations, they don't even say 2.6, they just market it as a straight up 2.8. Why even waste time with the Tokina? Why not just seek out and find the original Ingenue? That lens is extremely rare, and when you do find it, it's gonna cost you about 5 times the amount of what the Tokina goes for. So I bought this lens on eBay for a little over $200. Yeah, talking about cinematic look on a budget. If you're getting value, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content about filmmaking. Experimenting with lens filters is an exciting way to enhance the visual style of your films directly from the camera, adding a layer of creativity and control that can both be subtle and profound. Lens filters such as Black Pro Mist can help you achieve a more cinematic image by softening unwanted sharpness, reducing contrast, blooming highlights, and adding a dreamy, film-like atmosphere to your shots. You can begin with a lower density like 1/4 to subtly enhance your image without overwhelming it. 1/4 is what I'm actually using right now, and I feel like it's a pretty good strength without baking the actual look into your video, in case your client may want to go for something sharper than a vintage look. These filters are particularly effective in scenes with harsh lighting or when you want to achieve nostalgic or dreamy look. They're great for softening skin tones, making them popular for portrait and narrative work. Experiment with your filter in various lighting scenarios like golden hour, overcast, indoors with artificial light to see how it behaves. One of the key features of the Black Pro Mist filter is how it blooms highlights, creating a glow effect around light sources. This can be used creatively to enhance mood and atmosphere, especially in low light scenes or when you're shooting directly into light sources. If you want to check out any of these gadgets, I've added links to the description below. One of my favorite ways to add depth and mood to a scene is to use a fog machine. To run one of these requires no special technical skill. You just have to remember to use a bounce card or a flag to spread the fog evenly around the room. Otherwise, the fog may be too dense and look like a smoke room, which may not be the vibe you want to portray in your scene. This is especially useful in wide shots where you want to convey the scale of location, or in tight spaces to add a sense of depth that wasn't previously there. It diffuses the light in a way that softens and spread it evenly, contributing to a specific emotional impact. But one of fog's most visually striking effects is its ability to make light beams visible, creating dramatic lighting effects that can give scenes a high-quality cinematic feel. This is particularly effective for scenes featuring sunlight streaming through windows or nighttime scenes with artificial lights. Using a fog machine is an incredibly cost-effective way to add cinematic quality to your video. I picked up mine online for about 60 bucks and spent an additional 20 on a bottle of water-based fog fluid. If you're filming tighter shots, you can even get a smaller handheld unit to create this effect quickly, although on a smaller scale. Natural light is one of the cheapest and most beautiful light sources available. I often use windows and open doors to let the natural light in. A bounce card is my go-to tool for a soft fill light in a close-up or even a medium shot. My favorite time to film is of course during the golden hour, which provides a soft, warm look. It's that magic window of time before and during sunset. If you time your production right, those 30-40 minutes will allow you to capture beautiful cinematic shots. Often I simply add orange gels when I place a light outside the window to have that golden hour look throughout the entire shoot. An easy way to add to the mood of the scene is to use practical lights like lamps, ceiling lights, and other sources already in your scene. These not only save on budget but also add realism to your shots. I really like Edison bulbs for their interest in shapes and warm color. Otherwise, you can replace existing bulbs with smart, controllable and dimmable bulbs. Aperture B7C is my go-to light bulb here, and I always have at least 2 in my kit when shooting indoors. I really like using this light and shadow focusing condenser with a 50mm lens. It comes with a variety of shape plates and color gel filters and allows me to easily throw a cool looking shape on the otherwise bland wall. This is an easy way to add large size textured objects into your frame, and at a cost of about 150 bucks, which is not too bad when you think of film production. Experiment with color contrast. Try using colors in a way that they stand out against each other. Sometimes we might shine a warm golden light on the character while keeping the background cooler with blues, making the character stand out more. If you don't have controllable RGB lights, you can purchase a set of gels. Depth in film refers to the perceived distance between the foreground, middle ground, and background of your shot, By manipulating these elements effectively, you can create a sense of three-dimensionality and spatial complexity in your scenes, drawing your viewers into the world of your film. Think of your scene in terms of layers. Place objects or subjects at various distances from the camera to create layered composition. For instance, you might have a character in the foreground, a table with props in the middle ground, and a window showing the outside world in the background. Depth of field refers to the range of distance within a shot that appears acceptably sharp. By using a shallow depth of field, achieved by using larger aperture or f-stop, you can keep either the foreground or the background in focus while blurring out the rest. This not only adds depth, but also directs the viewer's attention to the part of the image you want to emphasize. Shooting from different angles and perspectives can greatly affect the perception of depth. For example, shooting from a low angle with the camera pointing upwards can make an object appear larger and more imposing, while shooting from a high angle can diminish their presence, enhancing the depth of the environment around them. Movement can help emphasize the spatial relationships between objects at different distances. The best way to learn how to create depth is through practice and experimentation. Try setting up a scene and experiment with these techniques. Adjust placement of objects and observe how it changes the perception of depth. Shoot in log or raw formats to allow yourself to do more with your footage in post. Cinematic color grading, especially in a powerful tool like Davinci Resolve, is crucial for elevating the quality of your projects. Log or logarithmic and raw formats are designed to capture the widest possible dynamic range from your camera's sensor. This means they can record greater detail in the highlights and the shadows, preserving information that would otherwise be lost in standard video formats. Shooting in log or raw is like having a safety net for exposure, ensuring you have more flexibility in post-production to adjust your image without compromising its quality. These formats record flat, desaturated images that might look unimpressive at first glance, but are actually rich in data. So my favorite editing software is Davinci Resolve for its advanced color grading and editing capabilities. I'll show you my basic color grading workflow. First, I'd create several nodes. Think of each node as a separate layer of adjustment. You can use one node for exposure adjustment, another one for color tweaks, and another one for specific effects like skin tone correction. And since I mostly shoot with Red Komodo, I'm using Red's own creative LUTs. And because a LUT does the conversion from a much wider color gamut to a compressed Rec. 709, I usually place the conversion LUT closer towards the last node. Any adjustments done after a conversion LUT will be more destructive to the footage, since at that point we're working with a compressed image. I'd usually add a noise reduction to the very first node. I found it to be a very effective tool to smooth out the image, especially if it was shot in a low light. In the next node, I'd use the gain wheel to correct the white balance with the help of a vector scope. I'd also use the parade scope to adjust the exposure. In the next node, I'd adjust contrast and saturation depending on the look I'm going for. I also grew fond of the beauty filter, which does a great job with smoothing skin. But really, after you've done all the basic adjustments, you can add more creative effects. I'd like to wrap it all up by adding a vignette. And if you're really after a film look, then you can also add film grain to the very last node. Or if you have it, you can also add film grain footage to the top video track in the edit window. And in the composite window, select to overlay your original footage on tracks below. And now you have real film grain for more authentic cinematic film look. Some of the most important settings I've learned to use during the final rendering process are the setting for the color space tag to Rec. 709 and gamma tag to Gamma 2.4. These tags are really important because it's how all the devices will know what colors they need to recreate when playing back your video. Otherwise, you may wonder why your colors look all over the place, look different on every screen, which actually happened to me when I started. In the next video, I'm gonna show you my entire process of filming a lifestyle product video with an actress. Stay tuned.